computer.
Okay, yeah, it's saying it's recording
Good.
now. Okay, lovely.
So it's a little while since you wrote initially.
Yes.
How have things been in the interim?
That's interesting. Well, it's been a bit tumultuous. A relationship has broken down.
Mhm.
Um, and so yeah, that's not been the best. But yeah, um, I've just, this whole process is really
Your
my
main
main
focus.
focus, definitely, yes.
Yes.
Um, and it's interesting because when I'm in a calm state, I can tap into the beingness that you talk about. But then I feel myself being
Yes.
dragged off by, unwelcome thoughts.
Mm.
So yeah.
Well, that's in a way it's great that you can see that distinction because
Yeah.
they're the two aspects I like to address really. So the one is self-realization, which is quite simple, and I'm sure you're completely familiar with that actually.
Yes.
The second one is the one that most people are looking for really, which is an end to suffering.
Yeah.
And that one is also quite simple when it's understood, but it's quite different to the way it's presented um, in the mainstream religions and in the world in general. So we can have a look at that though, because I'm
Yeah.
sure there'll be some opportunities to be able to, well, certainly significantly reduce suffering.
Yes. Well, that sounds really good. Yeah, I mean, I've been listening to some of your videos and and I'd made a note of a few things that, I found a bit confusing. But now here in the moment, I've kind of forgotten all about that. Um, but yeah. So I think ever since I had an awakening experience, I mean, I know that self-realization isn't about experience.
Mm.
Um,
But the
experience happens
Kundalini,
within it, yes.
yes, yes.
So I had this experience out of the blue,
Mhm.
as I said in my email, and I hadn't been a spiritual seeker. And
That's quite a few years ago now.
yeah, it was about 9 years ago. And yeah, again, I'd been through quite a tumultuous time, and I'd I'd come out of a long marriage, and I think it was very hard for me to let go of the image I had of myself as married to this person and set up and everything. And so letting go of that was, I don't know, maybe it freed something up
Yes,
in me. And I had to, I was forced to let go of a major
yes,
identification.
yes.
Um,
Well, quite often changes in relationships, especially if they're long-standing, they can seem to be um, well, unpleasant in one respect, but in terms of self-realization, they quite often it's an opportunity to align with your infinite nature because everything we're maintaining in the personal realm is a kind of investment, and
yeah,
the personal aspect of experience is something which we we're conditioned to invest quite a lot of energy in those experiences and believe them to be true, and seek a sense of identification and stability within them. But it's almost like a script in a play, which we kind of begin with the sort of storyline of individuality, and then we enter into a
Mm.
relationship, and the storyline becomes more elaborate, and it requires more energetic investment as we
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
So it's exactly as you say. The Kundalini experience would probably be as a result of the the investment which had gone into the relationship is something which had built up over time, and
Mm.
then the challenge of adjusting to the new circumstances would have resulted in a kind of withdrawal of investment. So the energy which was previously fueling and maintaining the relationship and the sort of dualistic realm of experience on a personal level, the energy was kind of withdrawn from that. And so that energy was felt directly as Kundalini energy. Um, but yeah, we can have a look at some different aspects, because the um, the nature of experience for us all is it's really learning to integrate the different aspects of the human experience, and we can do that consciously. And you're probably familiar, or you've heard about the koshas,
Yes.
which can help to achieve that.
Yeah.
And so it means that we can be selective in the way we invest energy. But really, for you, Sarah, what I can detect is the higher purpose for your human experience is something which is above and beyond the sort of human realm. It's something that has a much higher purpose. And so even though there have been, some commitments in the human realm, there's something which has been driving the life experience, and actually nothing's gone wrong. It's been a process of, well, it's been a process of refinement. It's only from the conventional perspective that it seems as though these challenges are something which are undesirable, but seeing it in the bigger picture, it is part of the process of gaining total freedom and also reclaiming your sovereignty. So if we could just
Yeah.
begin,
Yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
like to just begin quite simply, just to see where you are in terms of um, the knowing of your true nature. So do you feel, have you watched any of the videos where the distinction's made between impersonal being and the personal mode?
Yes.
And do you feel you're,
So just yes, the effortlessly being aware of things just happening.
yeah, so
Right.
just arising
Yes.
within a field of awareness?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So sometimes I'm more aware than at other times, and
Yes,
I'm conscious that, because tumultuous emotions and or thoughts have been
yes,
rising, that's
yes,
rather taken me out.
yes,
But I can, I'm much more conscious that when I'm outside, for example, I'm tuning into all the noises around me
yes.
in a kind of a broader way. I can hear the birds, and
Hmm.
and I
So
don't,
there's, yeah, impersonal awareness of
yeah,
things arising within a field of awareness.
within a field of awareness. Yeah.
And they're arising neutrally, I guess, in those circumstances. So it's
Yeah.
just whatever is arising. So a car goes by.
Yes, I'm conscious of activity. I'm
Yeah.
conscious of my feet on the pavement, and
Yes.
my breath, and that, in a way, it's something I know effortless awareness, but I've tried to cultivate that sort of
Yes,
being more aware of more things than my thoughts, you know.
yes,
So
yes.
if my thoughts start up, then I try and, you know, listen to the
Mm,
sounds around me, you know, feel the sensations of,
mm.
you
Have,
know.
have you used impersonal language? Because it actually makes quite a difference if we change the use of language. So the conditioning we've had is to use words like, I feel my feet on the pavement, or I
Yeah.
hear the sound of the birds, or, I can feel myself breathing.
Yeah.
Actually in the personal mode. So for it to be really clear in terms of impersonal being, it's quite good. Just it's really only it isn't really practice, it's just to see that impersonal awareness is there before the arising of the personal mode. So if we just notice there is impersonal awareness of breathing happening, impersonal awareness of the body sitting on a seat, impersonal awareness of the images on the screen, or of the birds singing or the wind blowing, a bit, because while we're using words like I, me, or mine, we're actually investing a certain amount of energy in the personal mode, because that's what that language is designed to do.
Right. Okay.
And
Yeah.
sorry,
No, I just, because I've heard it said so many times, you know, you are this field of awareness in which
mm,
everything is happening.
mm,
But then I've tried to conceptualize what it is to be a field of awareness. And then I'm struggling with this, yes, but I think when I'm completely and utterly still sitting
mm.
here,
Yes,
I I can feel that. But
mm.
then when I'm moving around, uh,
The mind's active,
when I'm aware of this body moving around, it's as if
the
I,
personal mode becomes more.
yeah, I am a person,
Yes,
and my field of awareness is confined to this person,
yes,
because I can't, because I don't know what it's like to feel like you're feeling. I can't, I don't know. I can be aware of the trees, but I don't know what it feels like to be a tree, you know,
sure.
outside or whatever. So I think this is the thing that's I'm getting quite confused about.
Yes,
How big is this field? Does the awareness sort of project itself into this body, or is the body sort of picking up the awareness from
yes,
the great field like a receiver?
yes,
So yeah, perhaps you could clarify that.
certainly. Well, we all begin and remain as attributeless awareness. So that really just means, well, in a simple way, it's awareness aware of itself. So um, the Indian version is Rishi Devata and Chandas, which means the knower, the means of knowing, and the known. So when attributeless awareness is simply knowing itself, the knower is awareness, the means of knowing is awareness, and what is known is awareness. But then and actually all experience is Rishi Devata and Chandas, either directly when it's in the simplest form in attributeless awareness, it is just awareness aware of itself. Um, and in any other aspect, it's a kind of disguised version. So the first disguise is the body of bliss. So it's only what is known which is amended. So it's still awareness aware, but it's aware of bliss rather than just simply awareness. And so so a disguised version would be when Sarah is having a cup of tea. So it's still Rishi Devata and Chandas, it's still the knower, the means of knowing, and the known, but awareness is actually disguised the knower aspect is disguised as Sarah. The means of knowing is the sense of taste, and what is known is the tea. So it's Sarah having a cup of tea is still actually awareness aware of itself, but it's a disguised version. But in terms of what awareness is simply, it's an ever-present infinite field within which all forms appear. So it's like an ocean. And so if we put aside the sort of focal point of the body mind and just notice the forms appearing, you could say that all forms arise as waves in that field of awareness. So there could be the sun, for instance. It looks as though the sun is similar in Cambridge to the way it is here in Shropshire, which is that it's getting low in the sky and it's shining through the window. But the sun is actually arising in the awareness you've always been. So you have to be present where the sun is for it to be known. And you have to be present where the moon is for it to be known. And you have to be present where the stars are. So everything is actually arising in this infinite field of awareness. So the subject-object mode, the idea that it's Sarah who is experiencing, is a conditioned mode, when really it's it's a bit like well, I've not used this analogy before. It's come to mind though. So it's like the ocean. So the ocean is just a field within which all these waves can arise. So the waves arise and they don't become separate from the ocean. They just arise and then they fall back into the ocean. And it's very similar in terms of awareness, in that if we take, say, sound, so the sound of words, the awareness you've always been is an infinite field. And the sound of the words arise as waves on that field of silence. So it's an infinite field of silence, which is an infinite field of potential. So everything can arise from there. So a sound can arise from there. It can appear as though it's separate from this infinite field of consciousness or awareness, because it takes a specific form in the form of the words, but then it subsides back into that ocean. So all sounds arise like that. And then there are forms of longer duration. So you could say the body mind is like a wave. It has a longer duration than a word. And then there are other things. So there are, the forms in the room, or there can be thought forms, which the thought forms are, probably shorter waves than the words. But whatever the forms are, whether they're thought forms, emotional forms, perceptions, physical forms, they're all arising as waves. And they arise out of the infinite ocean. They never become separate from it. And then they appear to be individual, and as a wave has an individual form, but then they all subside back into the silence, which is a field of infinite possibility. So in the same way as an ocean can manifest in all forms of waves, small ones, large ones, all different shapes. So the infinite being, infinite awareness can manifest in all different ways as forms. The infinite field of awareness is much more complex, really, because it can manifest in many different ways, in terms of the thoughts, the emotions, the sensations, the physical forms, different dimensions, so it's more complex, but it's really putting aside the sense of individuality.
I think that's the struggle, because there's only awareness of this body mind. That's there's only an experiencing of this person.
Well, you could say there's a
Yes.
focal point of Sarah.
So why is that then?
Well, it's really because there's a sequence which goes from subtle to gross. So it begins as it actually begins as being attributeless awareness, so no forms whatsoever. So that's just simply awareness aware of itself. The first filter is the body of bliss, which is an infinite field of bliss. So initially it is an infinite field of awareness with no forms appearing within it. And then the first kosher is the body of bliss. So that is an infinite field, an infinite impersonal field of bliss. And then the second kosher is called the body of wisdom, which is effortless being.
Mm.
So effortless being is where all forms arise equally and effortlessly. So when we're knowing as effortless being, the only way the forms can be known equally and effortlessly is if they're known impersonally, because um, as soon as we step into personalization or duality, we're actually in the dualistic realm, we're in the
Right.
mental realm.
Okay.
So impersonal awareness precedes the mental realm. So when there's the knowing of, that's why it's quite good to use impersonal language, because even in a context which is normally personalized, so if we take the body sitting on the sofa, the personal version would be, oh, I'm sitting on my sofa.
Yes. Yeah.
But actually, if we look directly, there is impersonal awareness of a body sitting on a sofa. The knowing of the body sitting on the sofa, if we forget the name and the
Yeah.
history of everything, that just the direct knowing of the body sitting on the sofa is actually impersonal awareness, knowing the body sitting on the sofa. It isn't Sarah knowing that. The idea of Sarah knowing the body sitting on the sofa can only emerge in the mental body.
Right. So is that where I'm still stuck in the
Well,
mental body.
in the human realm, everything in this world has been designed to
Reinforce that.
to reinforce the dualistic realm, because the dualistic realm is an energy system. It's a distinct energy system. It operates under different laws and regulations to unity. So unity consciousness exists in the body of bliss and the body of wisdom. And then the three dualistic realms are the mental realm, the emotional realm, and the physical realm, which are the astral realm, the etheric realm, and the physical realm. So it's just becoming familiar with the simplicity of impersonal awareness. So but if it can be noticed that there is, I sensed when we were just describing the body sitting on the sofa and it's known by impersonal awareness, I sensed that there was clarity in that knowing.
Yeah, I think when I feel relaxed, yeah, when I can
Yeah.
relax into it.
There's something going on for, excuse me, there's something going on for Sarah, which is that because your life purpose really is to reintegrate with your infinite nature, and for that to be primary, the invitations you're getting in terms of mental invitations and also the life experiences, like the breakup of the relationship, they're actually because the dualistic realm doesn't want you to cancel your subscription to the dualistic realm. So the more freedom that is arising in terms of knowing your true infinite nature, the more withdrawal of investment there is in the dualistic realm. So the dualistic realm becomes aware of that. So it issues the most intense invitations to try to draw you back in, so
Yes.
that you're energetically invested in the dualistic realm again. And
Right.
that's the basis really of the two breakdowns, in terms of the relationships. But that's really what was happening in both cases.
Right. Yeah, I mean, um, oh, yeah, the sort of spiritual search has been it's been a really, really
Yeah.
big thing, but I'm also conscious of, that I am kind of uh there are some individual bits of me, I'm still invested in how I look, and you know,
Yes.
and I know I've got to let go of that because I'm getting older and everything, but I'm
Well, that's it.
struggling with that as well.
Well, you don't actually need to let go of it because it's really enjoying the clarity of knowing your infinite nature allows you to enjoy the personal realm of experience in a way where it isn't bound by anything. So it actually increases the freedom in the personal realm. So you could be, more committed to your appearance, and it wouldn't make any difference. What's important is knowing what you truly are, because really it's self-realization results in a kind of 200% experience of life. We're conditioned into investing in the dualistic realm. Everything in this world has invited us to identify with the dualistic realm, and the dualistic realm has been portrayed as being the most desirable realm. But actually, unity consciousness is far more desirable.
Yes.
But the benefit of discovering the distinction between unity consciousness and the dualistic realm is we have 100% of satisfaction in terms and bliss and all the higher experiences in terms of our infinite nature. But the dualistic realm then becomes available in a more selective way, so that everything which is to do with um, kind of heightened experience in the personal realm remains available. It's just that we no longer entertain the aspect of the dualistic realm which have energetic consequences, which is mainly to do with the low frequency emotions and identification with them.
Right. Okay.
So you don't need to give up having fun as Sarah. That's so
Um,
so that's that's really um it's something which is just once the distinction is made, it's really it really becomes very simple. So you in your infinite nature, you're the infinite being, and the infinite being is like an actor. So the actor is currently playing a character called Sarah. So because the infinite being is actually the director of the drama called Sarah, then it can actually redefine it. It can rewrite the script. It can be as amazing as you wish to have it, because that definition can come from your infinite nature rather than from the limitations of the dualistic realm. So the conditioning in the dualistic realm, it's really the dualistic realm is tough for everyone, really, because it's an energy game. And putting it harshly, the dualistic realm, our objective is to get through the dualistic realm and preserve all of our energy. But the intention of the dualistic realm is to take us down energetically. So it's constantly issuing invitations into limitation and emotional turbulence and all kinds of things which affect us energetically. And when we don't understand how the dualistic realm functions, we can be subject to that, and it's a very harsh experience. But as we understand how it's structured and how we can actually maintain stability within our infinite impersonal nature in unity consciousness, then the dualistic realm becomes much more playful, because we know it is only like a virtual reality. You realize that Sarah is just a game piece, really. It's like an avatar within the dualistic realm, and you can have as much fun with it as you wish to. the problematic aspect is the identification with that character as though it really is you, and all the conditioning we've had. So, concepts to do with, well, if you look at all the elements operating in the dualistic realm, things like death, sickness, accidents, illness, old age, suffering, all of those things. So the more identification there is with the dualistic realm, the more those challenging experiences impact on us. But the more we're maintaining the stability of our infinite impersonal nature, we can look into the dualistic realm because we never really entered it. We've remained as the infinite impersonal being. And it's just that there is this challenge to actually invest our energy and attention in a way which is beneficial and enjoyable, rather than us being subject to the sort of harsh consequences of the dualistic realm without understanding what's going on.
But if everything comes out of this field of awareness, consciousness, then the dualistic realm comes out of this too.
Yes.
So there must be a divine purpose to it. Is it that the suffering caused, almost forces you to search then
Well,
for...
you can see it in that way, but there's a more simple way of seeing it, really, which is that the if we take, say we go to the fairground and there's an amusement arcade, and within that amusement arcade there's a computer game, which is you versus the computer game. So it's kind of set up so that you have to try to get through the game and survive and not lose any energy. But the purpose of the game is to take you down energetically. So you start with, say, I don't know, 100,000 points or something, and you have to try to get through the game, and you win a prize if you can get through the game and keep your 100,000 points. But
Yeah.
most people go in, and then the game starts to win, and then we end up with with our reserve of points being depleted.
Yeah.
So you would say that that computer game exists within God's realm, because God's realm is a field of infinite possibilities. But you wouldn't say that that computer game was divine or that it was devised by God, because it's operating under a different set of rules. So the dualistic realm is actually like a big matrix. It's like a big computer game, and it's operating under different rules to unity consciousness. So, people talk about it in different ways. Ramana Maharshi describes it as an overgrowth. So he says really it's something which it's a kind of anomaly because it isn't in alignment with God or the infinite being. In Hinduism, they talk about the yugas, and the yugas, it's the idea that there are these different ages: the golden age, the silver age, the bronze age, and the iron age. And in the golden age, creation is a combination of infinite love with infinite intelligence. So it would be completely harmonious, self-sustaining, infinite possibilities, infinite love. But as the yugas decline, it's the element of love which actually begins to dissolve. So that by the time we get to Kali Yuga, which is the current age, it's the element of love which is dissolved, which is why the structures operating in the dualistic realm at the moment, they're not kind of divine structures, because the reason, for instance, for things like consumption of food, and the kind of energetic aspect of the dualistic realm, it's because the dualistic realm isn't in alignment with God or the infinite being. So the energy has to be supplemented.
Oh, I see.
So that's why the humans are eating the animals are eating each other. The birds eat the insects, everyone eats the plants. So it's because it isn't the dualistic realm isn't sustainable on its own because it isn't in alignment with God or the infinite being.
Right. Okay.
So it's the supplementary energy. So the supplementary energy of food, it exists on the human level down. So you can see the food chain from the human level down. But there's actually a food chain which is above the human level, which is to do with um, emotional, mental, and psychic energy, which is a kind of food source in a way, which fuels the dualistic realm. So um, within this matrix, the reason that we have those experiences which are inviting us into mental and emotional turbulence is because it's a kind of food source, or it's like a fuel for the matrix.
Gosh, that's quite creepy, really, isn't it? Um, so okay, so you feel an attack coming on, a sort of psychic attack then of,
Well,
where
let's
you're
yeah, let's
bombarded with
yeah.
pleasant thoughts.
The main thing is not to entertain fear because that's an invitation really. Because the dualistic realm, you're the sovereign, infinite, timeless being. You're the one who calls the shots really. But it's just that for whatever reason, I mean, there is a reason which I'll explain to you later. But we find ourselves in the dualistic realm, and the dualistic realm is designed to make us identify with the forms, so we forget our sovereignty, and it's designed to make it appear as though we're subject to the dualistic realm. So things like fear, anxiety, psychic attacks, and all those things are something we're subjected to, and we have to kind of battle against it. But the benefit of realization is you realize actually you've remained as the impersonal, infinite being all along. You never entered into the dualistic realm. It's just that it's like playing on a computer game, and you've been playing on it for so long. You know the way children go to their bedroom and they're
Yes.
playing on the computer game, they become totally absorbed in it, and they
Mm.
forget that it's a game, and they forget to go to sleep.
Yeah.
That's what the dualistic realm is really.
Um,
The way it works, if I could just explain
yes. Yeah.
briefly, because when we take delivery of the human body mind, we're not actually told that it's actually wired to two different systems. So it remains wired to God or the infinite being, but it is also wired to the dualistic realm. So it's wired to the dualistic central server. So how that works is, um, well, if you take the way things feel, you can detect the source of the delivery. So functioning primarily from your infinite nature, and the delivery of the content from your infinite nature is something which you followed. So that always has a feeling of expansiveness, infinite possibilities. There's intuition. You get a sense of synchronicity, guidance, inspiration. Sometimes there's telepathy. There's stuff which is coming on quite a subtle level, and all creativity also um, comes through from our infinite nature. So whether it's sport or music, writing, um, art, everything is coming from our infinite nature, because the mind really is more it's more of a commentator, and it's good in a sort of practical way, but it isn't creative. So so the um, so the way life begins is it begins really um, in a combination of effortless being and infinite bliss. So when Sarah was very young, it's only if there's quite extreme trauma early in life that we can be thrown into individuality early on. But if life's reasonably harmonious in the early years, the first couple of years anyway, we're actually functioning from impersonal being. And so that is simply noticing the forms arising. So when Sarah was a little girl, she may have been sat on the sofa as she is now. She'd probably be in bed by now, but if we take just the experiences arising in this moment, there could just be awareness of the sun coming through the window, awareness of sitting on the sofa, awareness of watching TV,
Mm.
um, impersonal awareness of the taste of food, or a feeling of tiredness. So those forms would have been arising, and they would have been arising as a field of awareness or within a field of awareness. And there would be an alternation with the body of bliss as well. So there could be, I'm not sure whether you remember this um, early in life, but there can just be the arising of bliss for no reason. And you can see it with children when they're really young. They just have that experience, and it just comes from nowhere, really.
Mm.
So so that's how life begins, but that actually never went away. So in this moment, there is still, in reality, there is still infinite impersonal awareness and the option to move in the direction of bliss rather than to move in the direction of the conceptual realm.
Yes. So is understanding everything? I mean, I've heard that said, that, you know, understanding what your true nature is the crucial thing. But then I've also heard, you know, people, sorry, there's an absolute hailstorm going on outside.
Yes.
But then I've heard other people say, oh, I just felt a shift and there was no longer a person there anymore, and which felt like quite an energetic thing. So one seems to be more of a, I don't know, an understanding, and more of a sort of physical shift.
Well, the understanding aspect is something which is useful in the kind of energetic sense, because as we make the distinction between the five koshas, we can begin to utilize them in a conscious way.
Yes.
Whereas for most people, they're switching between them without even realizing they're
Yes.
moving their attention between these different options of experience.
Yes.
So if we take the ones where they feel it's an energetic shift, what's happening is it's really that the mental realm is predominating. So we go along in life, we believe we really are Sarah, that we live in Cambridge,
Yes.
we have this life story, we have this history. The
Yes.
mind's running all of these thoughts around that. And we can feel like an emotional roller coaster, depending on the delivery of the invitations. They can be, heightened experiences, inspirational experiences, or they can be taking us like on the Big Dipper, where you go down into some dark places.
Yeah.
Um, but self-realization is simply seeing that effortless being has been there all along. So when people describe the shift as being something which just comes from nowhere and they don't know what happened, it's quite often because there's been a massive overinvestment in the personal realm. So if you take someone like Eckhart Tolle, for instance,
Yeah.
so Eckhart's experience was quite dramatic because he realized his true nature in the late 1970s, and it's become much easier since then to realize one's true nature. What happened for Eckhart is he he was very heavily invested in the personal realm. So I think he went to Cambridge, didn't he?
I'm not sure. Yeah.
But anyway, he was an academic, and so the mental realm was predominating,
Mm.
and there was a lot of emotional turbulence, especially to do with things like anxiety and depression.
Mm.
And on the night of realization, he said that he was suicidal, and he this thought arose, um, and this thought actually arose from his infinite nature, and the thought was, I can't live with myself anymore.
Mm.
And that thought actually makes the distinction between effortless being, the body of wisdom, which
Mm.
is where that thought arose, and the mental realm. So the
Mm.
mental realm is the conceptual self. So the conceptual self, the idea that, he's suffering, that there's anxiety, that there is depression, that his energy is being compromised. And so that had been the sort of predominant thing, because his energy was invested in the personal realm, and it was maintaining or deepening the sense of depression and anxiety because he didn't understand at that stage how to become free of it. But when this thought emerged, which said, I can't live with myself anymore, the next thought was, well, if I can't live with myself, there must be two of us.
Mm, mm,
So the one must be real and the other one must be false. So
mm.
so he saw that the beingness, or the effortless beingness, or the awareness, which was aware of the personal realm, was seen as being distinct from the personal realm. And so the mind suddenly stopped, because the energy which was unconsciously fueling the dualistic realm and fueling the anxiety and the fear and the depression and the suicidal tendencies, that energy was withdrawn. So he found himself washed upon the beach of effortless being, and he was just knowing the silence of that. And then he realized, well, he was seeing everything anew. So everything wasn't being filtered through the mental filter of the mental body. Well, the combination of the mental body, emotional body, and physical body. So it was from the clarity of effortless being, and he realized that that's what he truly was. So that was like a spontaneous withdrawal of investment in the
Yes,
personal realm.
yes. So when I had that experience, that Kundalini, uh,
Mm,
incredible
mm.
experience, I was very aware of this silence for quite a long time afterwards.
Yes. Yeah.
Then the thoughts started, my mind started taking
Yes.
over again. But because it came out of the blue and I hadn't been doing I'd been on a mindfulness course about 6 months before. But apart from that, I'd never really done any searching.
Mm,
Although I actually had read Eckhart's book.
mm.
Um, but yeah, but that was just an experience, anyone would say. I don't know. Or was that an awakening? What was it?
Well, it had an experiential component, and there was potential there for full realization,
Mm,
had there been the knowledge um, of the structures of consciousness, because knowledge is structured in consciousness. And when we understand those structures, as you say, both things you said are true, actually. Understanding is really important, but also it is an energetic um, possibility, which is really withdrawing the investment. It's really, when we understand clearly, we understand how to withdraw the energetic investment from the dualistic realm. So
oh.
it's a combination of the two.
So, I mean, I did feel there was an energetic sweeping through
Yes,
my body,
yes.
but it was interrupted, unfortunately, because I had to go and collect my son from the train station, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it was such a bizarre thing that
Yes.
was happening.
Well,
Uh,
really, what was happening there is there'd been quite a heavy investment in the dualistic realm, so the conventional aspect of life. So the conditioning we have. So, well, just a sort of brief summary. So the infinite being initially, at the beginning of Sarah's life, would have just been effortlessly, impersonally aware of everything appearing. So for the first 2 years, it would be a combination of effortless, impersonal being and the body of bliss. And then gradually there's an invitation into the personal realm. So Sarah's parents would be referring to the body mind as Sarah. So in the first 2 years, there would have been awareness of the body mind. So initially, you would have been this open, infinite field of impersonal awareness. And there would have also been the focal point of the virtual reality suit of the human body, which was available as a sort of theme park ride. But that body mind was only seen as an object within the dualistic realm of experience,
So
along
no
with
more important than anything else
no
arising.
more important than anything else.
Really?
Just
That
the
seems
same.
extraordinary. Yeah, but so that is how you should view the body mind, as no more important than anything else arising.
No, because
That's
there's
kind of so astonishing.
well, it's neutral, impersonal awareness of everything, of all the forms. So there's awareness of the sofa, there's awareness of the TV, awareness of a bowl of cornflakes, and awareness of the body mind. And
Now,
it's
so I have to say this while I still remember, but when I was having that experience,
hmm,
a thought came into my mind, stop taking yourself so seriously.
yes,
Um,
exactly. And that so that
no, which was a very, because obviously I do take myself very seriously. So that was obviously a very strange thought to have.
yes,
But obviously,
that
I've
was
just
that
been
thought.
taking myself far too seriously.
Well, that thought came from the body of wisdom.
Yes.
Lots of the thoughts are coming from the dualistic realm. So all the thoughts which are designed to maintain a sense of personalization are coming from the dualistic central server, because they want you to believe that you are Sarah, you are the body mind, you are existing in time and space, you're in this scary world. And there are lots of things that you can experience, like depression, anxiety, fear, all of these things. The dualistic realm loves all that because you're fueling it with all of those emotions without even realizing that's what you're doing. So the conditioning, though, so from the initial from the initial knowing of your infinite impersonal nature, where the body is just seen to be an artifact within the dualistic realm. So, you see the objects in the room, and then there's this funny little thing that you're looking down on. It has arms and legs, and
Yeah.
and it's like an operating system which you become familiar with. So it has the senses. There's looking through the eyes. You never become it. We're
So
only
it's like
looking.
driving a car almost. It's
Yeah,
a
exactly.
vehicle.
It
Right.
is. It's
Okay.
a vehicle which, it has potential. Um, but we're in the same way as we're looking through the windscreen of the vehicle, we're looking through the eyes of the body into the
Right.
dualistic
Okay.
realm. You,
Right. I
but you
see.
never become you didn't become the windscreen, you didn't
No,
become
no.
the Morris Minor, you remained as the infinite being.
Um, I mean, I did feel I had quite a lot of energetic clearing back at that time, that
Yes. Well,
experience.
the reason for
So
that,
is there a clogging up that happens? I mean, could you say something about the chakras and I don't really
yes.
know anything about that, but there feels
Sure.
like there was a suddenly something that had been held in place was whirring away.
Yes.
So, but I just wonder if are there still blockages or do I not even have to worry about?
There aren't blockages. There is nothing to clear,
Okay,
because the whole of the dualistic realm really is a con trick. It's a deception, because it's making it appear as though there's all this content, the mental and emotional content, which you need to clear. And lots of therapies and traditions are actually in service to the dualistic realm. So they say you have to process all of this content.
right.
But really, it's very simple. You remain in your infinite impersonal nature throughout. It's only that you've invested in the personal realm, and there are certain tendencies which have predominated. So there can be a tendency to take delivery of certain content like anxiety or fear, but it isn't that there's a big mountain of fear that you need to dissolve or process or talk to your therapist about. It's really just that everyone in reality is remaining as the pristine, infinite, timeless being throughout. It's just that there is an option which we exercise without even realizing that we're exercising it, which is that we actually um, energize a character or a sense of personalization, which people call the ego, but it's like a phantom character which doesn't exist because it's a bit like the analogy, but you know, the difference between an actor and the character in a play. So everyone remains as the infinite being in the same way as the actor remains as the actor. Even if he's a really fantastic actor, he never becomes the character that he's playing. He can only pretend that he is. And it's in the same way that we have the personal realm of experience. It's just that the dualistic realm wants us to believe that we're the character, because the more we invest in that belief, the more prone we are to the energetic implications of the dualistic realm, which is the unpleasant aspect of it. But when you realize that the degree to which you invest in it is optional, then you can regulate that investment. But really, just a quick summary of Sarah's life experience. So initially, there was just impersonal, effortless, timeless being, and that's all you've actually remained as. It's just that alongside that, there has been the sort of building of the script of the character. So initially, um, there was simply impersonal, effortless awareness of the artifact of the body mind sitting on a seat somewhere in a nappy or something, you know. And then Sarah's parents would be programming her into identifying with that. So they'd say, "Oh, this is our little girl Sarah. You know, she's got this nice little pink top on today, and she likes eating porridge, and you know, she likes going to walking in the park or whatever it is." And you, the infinite being, are listening to that, and you're thinking, "What on earth are they talking about? What a load of nonsense." I'm the infinite, timeless being within which all forms, experiences, time streams, and dimensions appear. And they're trying to make me believe that I'm this little avatar sat on this potty or sat on this seat watching TV. And so that's really how it begins, but it's relentless because your parents keep calling you by name. They keep actually beginning to construct the character. So they're referring to personalization. So they're saying, "Oh, this is our little girl, Sarah. She's really beautiful. She's got brown eyes, dark hair,"
Rather, or the opposite, or
or
they.
the opposite, which can be even
Yes, my mother proudly said at dinner the other one when I saw her a few weeks ago, she said, "Oh, Sarah was such an ugly baby. We were quite worried about her for a long time." And so I think, yeah, I'm sure I was told what I was, yeah, and then you kind of take that on board,
yeah.
yeah.
And also there's a bigger picture for you, Sarah, which I'll explain a bit later. But the um the nature of the experiences we have when we're young, when there's the ability to return to the knowing of one's true nature, there are usually invitations at an early age, especially from family members. It's like being born into an alien environment. So you have parents or experiences which are so challenging, and they're actually designed to put you into mental and emotional compromise and identification with the personal realm in the most extreme and unpleasant way. So, that's really part of the energetic system. But there are obviously aspects like you're obviously very intelligent, probably very academic too. And and so there's been a building of the mental realm. So when we're young, we do take on certain things because also there's likely to be hypersensitivity. So when people say things to you when you're really young, and your mum and your dad or people around you criticize and they're finding fault, it hurts deeply, and you kind of sense that. And but they're all invitations into the dualistic realm, really. But the building of the character is something which we're investing in. So from being the infinite field of infinite potential to actually beginning to invest in the dualistic realm and in the personal realm without realizing we're actually doing that, that begins to require quite a lot of energy and attention. So to maintain the idea that we're limited in some way takes a huge amount of energy. So if there was kind of fault finding or aspects of the experience, when you were young, which were inviting you into limitation and feeling that your potential was limited in some way, that's totally opposite to what is true, which is you're the infinite, omnipotent, timeless, infinite being. But it takes a huge amount of investment in the personal realm to maintain those limitations, and it creates a sense of contraction, because the contraction is actually the energy which is being invested in those concepts of limitation about oneself. And so the way we're all conditioned, so we go to school, and it's all about mind predominance. It's about that we have our peg where we have our name on it, and we put our coat on it, and then they call the register, and we have to answer to the name. And then the education is about effort, and it's about competing, it's about building the ego, conflict, and then trying to devise a way through it. So trying to find some sort of subject that we're reasonably good at, and then we pursue that. And then it's a conceptual idea. Well, yes, I'm quite good at maths or English or something. So I'm going to have this kind of career, and then I'd like to be married, and I'd like to have children at the age of, by the time I'm 25. And so we're investing all of this energy in the personalized realm. And what happened for you is the investment in the personal realm. You could probably tell me the percentage of that investment, which then collapsed, because what the Kundalini experience was, the investment in the personal realm was something that had been going on since birth, really, creating this conceptual character called Sarah, believing it to be true, and that investment was pretty heavy. And then when it was actually a total blessing in a spiritual sense, when the relationship ended, because it was an invitation into freedom,
Yeah.
really. And it was an invitation, it was actually a collapsing, it was an enforced collapsing of the investment in the personal realm. So the surge of energy, the surge of the Kundalini energy, was the energy which had been previously fueling the personal realm, but it could no longer do that because it had kind of collapsed. So that energy became available in a sort of purely energetic sense, and you felt it. So
Yeah.
all of the strain and all of the maintenance of the conceptual realm, this is how my relationship looks, this is how my family looks, this is how my life looks, all the investment in the personal realm, suddenly there's like a gaping hole, and you're looking at it and think, well, there's nothing there now. But within that is this energetic freedom, because really it's just that you're being deceived into investing in the personal realm, because the dualistic realm wants you to do that, because your energy is fueling the dualistic realm. But then when there's a challenge like that, there's an enforced withdrawal of investment, and then you find yourself in this open space, and you're trying to make sense of it.
So if we were in the golden age, there would there still be an avatar experiencing the world, but there wouldn't be the mental investment.
Yeah, really, what's happening at the moment, and actually this is the reason for your showing up in the dualistic realm. You're not a native to the dualistic realm. You're you're actually, and the reason you've had these experiences, which from a personal point of view have been very challenging, but in terms of your true potential, they're the biggest blessings because they freed you from investment in the personal realm, and they're opening up the opportunity to realize your true purpose, which is not only to maintain the knowing of your true infinite nature, but to be able to share that with others and free them from the dualistic energy system. That's really your life purpose. But everything, especially in the early part of life, well, actually through quite a bit of it probably, has been to divert your attention from that possibility. It's to try to put you into identification, so your energy is invested in the dualistic realm, rather than learning that you're actually completely free of that. And
Isn't
that,
that everyone's self-purpose, though?
well, ultimately, I would say it is, yeah. But there are some people where it's a more dramatic um, experience, and I think many more people are waking up to that possibility, but it's still relatively small numbers. But really what's happening is that, so the dualistic realm, when we take delivery of the body mind, it's wired to these two different systems. So it's wired to God or the infinite being, and it's also wired to the dualistic central server, which is in Gnosticism, it's called the demiurge.
Mm.
So the word demi means half, and the word urge means creator. So it's it's the administrator of the creation, which is based on intelligence, but with an absence of love.
Yes.
And so when we take delivery of the body mind, we're not told that it's actually wired to both those systems. So the invitations which are coming from one's infinite nature are the ones which are opening up possibilities. Everything to do with your higher purpose is coming from your infinite nature. And that's why, it's really heartening to hear you say, well, actually, my highest purpose is to realize my true nature and be in complete alignment with my infinite potential.
Mm.
Um, and the dualistic realm is secondary.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And in fact, uh, you find yourself, though, you find that people say, "Oh, Sarah, you need to get out more. You need to be meeting people more." And I feel I have withdrawn quite a lot, but that worries people. They sort of say, "Oh, your life is out of balance. You need to be out having fun and everything." And you know,
Well, the
so
the
I
well
don't know if there are stages that
well yes. What I would say is that um, the the knowing to spend more time alone is actually your intuitive guidance, because um, being alone enables us to remain as impersonal beings. So when Sarah is home alone,
yeah,
it's actually the infinite impersonal being, and everything is arising within this infinite field of awareness. And you only become Sarah when somebody knocks the door or when the phone rings, and the friends speak to you as though you really are Sarah. And then you have to step into role. Then you're the character on the stage, and you have to talk to them as though you really are this person called Sarah, and you should be out having a good time. The thing is, with integration and the clarity of knowing your true infinite nature, then Sarah can go out and have a good time and play that role. And you know that it isn't affecting anything to do with your infinite nature, and you don't need to be reclusive. But it's establishing the clarity in knowing your true infinite nature, because then the energetic implications of spending time with people, they don't register with you.
right.
So
That's an interesting point. Yeah.
because if there's still a little bit of confusion about our true nature, then we can go out, and quite often our friends are issuing invitations into the dualistic
Yes.
realm. So they're saying, there could be something wrong with you, Sarah. It's terrible. You spend all this time on your own. You need to get out.
Yeah. Yeah.
From the dualistic realm. Now,
Yeah.
intuitively, you know, well, you'd say, well, that might be okay for you, but I really love being alone. It's blissful solitude for me. It isn't loneliness.
Yeah. So, um, I mean, I can have quite a quiet mind.
Hmm.
Um, and then I'm aware of lots of thoughts arising.
Yeah.
If they have an emotional component,
Yes.
and you feel it in your body, that you can be dragged,
Mm.
into the rapids with
Yeah.
it. So
Let's have a look at that.
what's what would be the quickest antidote,
Yeah.
to that kind of invitation?
It's, well, firstly, realizing that the mind has three main modes of functioning. So the one is taking delivery from the infinite being. So anything which is inspirational, expansive, has a feeling of lightness, joy, infinite possibilities. Um, things like inspiration, synchronicity, those kind of things. They're all coming from one's infinite nature, and they're being delivered into the mind. There can just be this clarity, and the cognition which comes from one's infinite nature. The the second aspect of the mind is the sort of practical aspect. So um, kind of organizing things on a practical level in terms of daily experience. So, maintaining some form of income and having somewhere nice to live, and you know, all of the things we do on a kind of practical level. It's the third aspect of the mind, which is peculiar to Kali Yuga or to the dualistic mode, which is the one to learn to neutralize the effects of. And so it's realizing that that aspect of the mind is coming from the dualistic central server, the demiurge. So that is the way we sense that is energetically, because anything that is coming from the dualistic central server has a feeling of contraction. So whether it's, it could be a turbulent emotion, it could be a memory of, probably the thing is with, I've had a couple of long-term relationships ended, so I'm familiar with what the invitations are like, but they sort of come along when it's like a memory of
A
something,
memory or a thought or a
like
jealous thought, or yeah.
all of that nonsense. And,
Yeah.
you're driving along the car, or remember driving, and then you realize what a joke it is, because it's all designed to put us into personalization. And so you can sense it energetically, and it's almost like the demiurge. It's a bit like, it's like Cinderella in the Ugly Sisters. So the demiurge is like the Ugly Sisters. It wants to keep you in imitation, so it's trying to keep you at the hearth, kind of working hard and preoccupied, and never really discovering your freedom. And so when you learn the way the dualistic realm works, it becomes very predictable, really. So you can see how the invitations come in, and you can see how they're personalized. So quite a good thing is to review the content, which kind of hooks you in. So there could be certain, with most of us, there are predominant emotional frequencies. So for some people, it could be depression. For others, it could be grief or sadness. It could be anxiety, jealousy, fear, any of those really. Um, but it's identifying the ones which have predominated, because it's a delivery system, and it isn't that there's anything to process. It's just that there have been tendencies for all of us to take delivery of a certain kind of content, because the dualistic realm is it's aware of everything. So it's aware of the predominant um, emotions which have function, even from childhood. And quite often we inherit ones from our mum, or, from parents or people we know very closely. So they tend to be the ones which are targeted. So if there's a tendency if there's a tendency to be entertaining particular themes, then they're exactly the ones that are going to be targeted. And then you find also that people actually repeat them because awareness is like it's a morphogenetic field. So if we have something, so for instance, if your mum, has made comments, while you were younger, um, I mean, you don't look to me as though you're old enough to have a son that you could pick up from the station. I thought probably you'd be picking him up from kindergarten. But but it's really that because it's a morphogenetic field, we tend to have the delivery of these things. So whatever it is we're believing about ourselves, because we're not told that it's an infinite field, and we're all picking up on the content of that field. So if you're projecting concepts of limitation about yourself, they're getting picked up by those around you, especially the ones who are tuned to you, like your mum. And they tend to repeat the ones which are likely to have an impact because that's part of the energetic system. But a simple antidote is in knowing that we project our beliefs into the world and they return to us as our experience. So if whatever the beliefs are that we're holding about ourselves, things that have been, designed to invite us into limitation, we can just rewrite the script. So any sense, I've said in previous conversations that one of the things for David Bingham was to do with inferiority. It was the idea, because my family, just ordinary working class people, and so there's a lot of conditioning in the UK to do with the class system, to do with privilege, or um, the experiences we're entitled to, all of that kind of thing. And it's programmed into us, and we don't realize that it's the power of our infinite potential which is activating those beliefs. But once you realize that it's only because we're the infinite being and we shine the light of our infinite potential through these filters of complete limitation and disturbance and unpleasant experience, that they come into effect for us. But once you realize that, then you can just really totally rewrite the script. And
Can you really change beliefs about yourself? I mean, what
absolutely.
do you do? Do you just say the opposite to yourself until you've
Well,
changed your, I don't know, but
it's changing the context of the experience because the way the koshas work, it's like these filters in a sequence, so they go from subtle to gross. So if we take the main one to become familiar with is functioning from effortless being, because if you just what you're clearly capable of really easily is just resting as effortless being and watching the forms arising equally and effortlessly. So just there is impersonal effortless awareness of the sunlight. There's effortless impersonal awareness of these two voices, of the two images on the computer screen. There's effortless impersonal awareness of the objects in the room, of the body mind sitting on the sofa. There's effortless impersonal awareness of looking through the eyes of that body mind. And so the more we anchor the ability to actually rest as impersonal being, that's like the strongest foundation on which we can build the personal realm of experience, because that's like a blank canvas in a way, because because impersonal awareness is a blank canvas, and then so you can create a portrait on the basis of the way you wish to experience that. Most people are trying to create an image, but it's in the mental realm. So the mental realm is already conditional and it's already limited. So and it's also to do with the way the dualistic realm works, because the invitations, they're not only on a personal level, so they're being delivered through the through the mind and the emotions on a personal level, but they're also being delivered on a collective level with the intention of affecting people's energy. So, the female experience at the moment is dreadful because it's the way the media portrays females, it's so distorted. And it's such a battle because it's trying to create this sense of perfection, which is totally unattainable for anyone.
Mm.
And but but it just creates complete personalization and investment in the personal realm of experience, so that and all sorts of duality do that as well. So things like race and gender and nationality and any aspect of the any form of dualism is reinforcing the dualistic realm. So investing in any of those things is going to be counterproductive energetically. But as you realize that we've been conditioned to do that because of the education system, the media, um, everything in the dualistic realm, the religions, therapies, they're all actually reinforcing the dualistic realm and they're serving it. So the dualistic realm wants us to, invest heavily in personalization, but it's also, the way it's delivered is just to make it life as difficult as possible and to get us investing in personalization. But 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 really just starting from the blank canvas of effortless being, that's your true nature. So what you could say is that the experiences we're having in the dualistic realm, there are certain things we've invested in a particular way. But from effortless being, the whole game can be reconfigured. So it's like with well, on a personal level. So the beliefs of David Bingham. David Bingham was trained as an artist, so life was more to do with things like introversion, subtle experiences, hypersensitivity, those kind of things. And so, you know, I wasn't really interested in communicating with people. I wasn't interested in anything to do with that. But because of the way things have unfolded and emerged effortlessly, it's become apparent that that's something which, I've been sort of guided to do.
Mm.
But it's kind of rewritten the script of what life's potential is because my background isn't anything to do with that. The sort of personal tendencies weren't. But when we shift the point from which we're actually experiencing from the conceptual realm to effortless being, then it becomes a field of infinite possibilities, and you realize all the limitations that you'd applied in terms of personal experience that don't actually apply, that it can be completely different.
So is there, I think when I read your book, you talk about emerging. Is there emerging? What do you mean by
Well, there's an integration really, which is that,
is that exactly
well,
in
um,
practical terms?
if we take the personal realm of experience, so building the character is something which begins at birth and then it continues through the early years. Around about the age of 2, there's usually a sense of personalization which emerges for most people because the onslaught of invitations into personalization from our parents and family members is so extreme that by the age of 2, we kind of concede. So our parents have been calling the body mind by name and pretending that it's who we are. And eventually, because it's just so all pervasive, we kind of give up. And then eventually, when they call you by name, you kind of answer as though you are Sarah. And then you've adopted that limitation. And then from there, the building of the character, intensifies really. And it becomes even more intense in the teenage years. And so the building of the character is something, well, you're totally familiar with that. If you look from birth through,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
certainly until the Kundalini experience, it
Mm,
was really building of the character and the life story,
mm.
and the investment, the energetic investment in that. And also it was engaging the mind to conceptualize as to how that can be done most effectively, and you know, how you can be happiest by achieving that. But because the mind doesn't really know how to be happy, it can be, it's good at structuring things, so it can say, well, yeah, I'm going to have this kind of job and this kind of family experience. But because it's all conditional and dualistic, it's leading us into a bit of a cul-de-sac usually, and most mind predominant concepts fail ultimately because they're not built on a solid foundation.
So there's a sort of collapsing.
Well,
So
that's
if the
true.
mind is a contraction, is your true nature a sort of relaxing
Yes, it's an expansion. It's
expansion?
the, yeah, it's the feeling um, of infinite possibilities. Like there was an expansion when we were discussing um, the nature of the body mind as being an artifact within the physical realm. So seeing the body mind as being, you know, equal to the chair or the sofa,
Yeah,
table or
yeah.
the carpet or the window,
Mm,
there was a sense of expansion then, because the limitation and the energetic investment and personalization in the idea that the body mind is primary and it's different requires quite a lot of energetic investment to maintain that. Whereas the freedom of seeing it as just a wave within this infinite field of impersonal awareness, which you've always remained as, is very energetically liberating, and it just feels like a lot more fun.
but it is the thing that is taking us around through which we have the experience of the physical world.
The body mind is the thing which is
Yeah.
taken. Yes, well, it's yeah, the body mind, you know, the body mind is it's like a vehicle to navigate the, well, the physical body is the vehicle to navigate the physical realm. The emotional or energetic body is the body to navigate the etheric realm, and the mental body is the body to navigate the astral realm.
Mm.
So we're navigating the astral realm at night in the dream state. So we're
Right.
using the mental body. The etheric body is available, and that can be when people have out of body experiences, that's the etheric body leaving the physical body.
Mm. So do you, in order to um, access the body of wisdom and the body of bliss, do you need to be fairly still initially to become familiar with them?
Well, it's
That's why meditation is recommended through.
well, meditation is a way to make the mind quieter,
Yeah.
and there can be expansive experiences through meditation, but it's better to understand effortless being as being the foundation of all experience, which is already there,
Mm,
rather than something which you need to practice to find, because effortless being is there when no effort is being made. So when you're not making the effort to be Sarah or to engage the mind or the emotions or the physical body, what remains is effortless being, and there's a simple impersonal noticing of the forms appearing. So there's effortless noticing of the body sitting on the seat, of the hail hitting the window, of the light coming through.
so with the mind, is it like it can be, you don't have to get rid of it.
No.
You can't get rid of it. But is it like the fairground in the background? You know it's there, but you just don't want to
Well, it's
rise.
the mind has those three main aspects to it. So the first aspect,
It does have a useful aspect of.
which is taking delivery of the content from your infinite nature, is fantastic. That's the purpose of the mind, really. And the practical aspect, you know, using it, you obviously have a very good mind and you can use it in a practical way. So that's also very good. It's just that the third aspect is the one we use selectively. So rather than entertaining the invitations into the lower frequency emotions, which have the energetic consequences,
Right.
we actually make neutrality the lowest level that we go to.
Right.
Um, but the emotions above neutrality, so things like love, compassion, unity, you know, anything which is you know, enhancing in terms of experience is absolutely fine. And the personal realm itself is fine because it's really that the character is set free to experience life in the most amazing way. So certain certain beliefs that have been imposed, they're not true. You know, there are. I've had a lot of fun with this with people who aren't have no interest in spirituality, but I moved back to my hometown a few years ago. So there are characters here that I knew since, you know, since I was really young. Well, one of them is my hairdresser. Well, he's retired now, but um, he started cutting my hair when I was 5 and he was 15. So he was an apprentice hairdresser and he's 10 years older. So he he's been a bit of a rascal really, and his marriage broke down when he was in his 50s, and then he, you know, he said, oh, I don't think life's very good now, you know, I don't seem to have much fun. And he was, so he was holding these beliefs, but the thing is everyone ultimately is the infinite being, and if we're holding beliefs, we're filtering all our experience through those concepts of limitation. And I said, well, actually, life can be anything at any age, really, because he'd bought, you know, one of the concepts that lots of people buy into is you can only have certain experiences at a certain age. And that, you know, being young is wonderful, but getting older is really depressing. But actually, they're all just concepts of limitation because it can be anything at any age. And so with my friend, I said, well, actually, that isn't true. You know, it can be anything at all. You know, that you need to just be really open to any possibility. And I could see that there was a sort of expansion which was taking place, and um, and so his life really changed as a result of just adopting those ideas that age isn't something which means anything. It's my favorite line in the Course in Miracles is everything only has the meaning we give to it. So if we're saying, oh, life isn't as good as we get older, or, you know, oh, you know, my experiences have been limited, or, you
Mm.
know, whatever beliefs we've subscribed to, we can just delete all of that. Because it's like with children, the more childlike the experience can be, the more fun it is, and the more potential there is. Because children, you know, they just, well, very young children, they're not holding concepts of limitation about themselves. They just want to have fun. So they go out and they do things and they switch their attention from one thing to another. And there isn't any, they're not putting these filters of limitation, you know, which create all forms of unpleasant experience.
So if a self-defeating thought comes to mind,
Mm.
um, are you in favor of where you just turn away from it straight away and put your attention on something else? Or do you have a good look at that thought? Because
Let's have,
that's my anxiety.
yes.
Are you reinforcing something by then thinking about, oh, well, you know,
Well, it's understanding the way the dualistic system works, especially the invitation. So the dualistic central server is well, it's a transmitter and a receiver, as is the body mind. So when we take delivery of the body mind, we're not told that it's a transmitter and a receiver. So the dualistic central server is like the computer game, and then the body mind is like the character within that game. So you're the infinite being, you're looking into the game, and then there's this character in there called Sarah, and you want the best for Sarah. Um, so but the intelligence of Sarah is actually linked to the dualistic central server. So that character has certain tendencies. So there could be tendencies to, tendencies of limitation in some way, or tendencies to take delivery of certain emotional or mental content. And so the first thing is to actually have a look to see what those predominant tendencies are, because if there are certain tendencies, so maybe, there are some very common ones in the human realm. They tend to be things like, I'm unlovable, there's something wrong with me, things don't work out for me. They're they're the main
Yeah.
the themes of invitation for most human beings. And there can be specific ones. There can be specific emotional invitations. So for some people, like with Eckhart Tolle, it was depression, suicidal thoughts. So they were the main ones, really. Heavy investment in the mental realm of experience. So so when you know when you know that they're the main invitations, you know that the dualistic central server is trying to optimize the acceptance of the delivery of invitations into those concepts and experiences, because that's how our energy is affected. So the dualistic realm has a file on Sarah, so it knows the vulnerable. So it knows your total life history. It knows all your lives, because for everyone we've had however many lives. But there are certain tendencies to take delivery which we bring in. There are tendencies which have been optimized in this life experience. And so the dualistic realm knows that the demiurge is watching all of that. So it's looking through your files and it says, okay, now, what's the best way to put Sarah into energetic compromise? Now, it works on the basis of inversion. That's a really good thing to know. So it said, well, here's Sarah. She's very intelligent. She's actually very beautiful. She has lovely dark hair. And really nice smile, great personality. And so what we'll do is we'll issue a few invitations to try to put that, turn that on its head. So we'll get people to say things to her, because she's very sensitive as well. She's going to be affected by these invitations. So we'll deliver the ones which are going to have the most devastating effect on her, especially early in childhood, because she'll carry those with her, and they'll compromise her energy, and she'll maintain the investment in that limitation. And that means that she'll be investing her energy, because she's the infinite being in reality. She'll be investing the energy of the infinite being in the dualistic realm. And so it knows everything about you. And so it knows the frequencies of invitation which you're most likely to take delivery of. So it's issuing invitations, and it works very similar to the way the algorithms work on a computer. So if you take, say, Amazon or YouTube, they work on the basis of algorithms. So there can be a tendency to, for there to be a predominance of a certain kind of content. So with YouTube, if you're watching particular videos, then the information is being returned to the YouTube central server. So it's saying, well, Sarah likes to watch these videos. She watched this one for 25 minutes and 43 seconds. And so everything about the information to do with the content that you're absorbed in is being returned to the YouTube central server, and that's formulating the invitations for the future content. So in the panel on the side, you have like 100 videos which have been selected based on the content which you've been watching, because based on the profiling that's been achieved through the cookies and the algorithms, it's able to deliver this content which you're most likely to take delivery of.
So does the system, does it sort of it's alerted if you seem to be unplugging your energy from it, and
Yes.
then it bombards you even more to
Yeah.
tempt you back in.
Yes. So it looks at the file. So recently, there's obviously been real progress in terms of becoming free of the dualistic system. So it's looked through the files. It said, "Hang on, we think she's climbing over the wall here. How can we get it back in? Oh, well, look. Oh, now the most devastating thing is personal relationships. So let's use that one."
Yeah.
And that's exactly the way it is.
Oh gosh.
And it works on the basis of inversion. So the invitations. So really, um, the invitations we take the invitations which are delivered are devised to avert your attention from what is true. So if, for instance, well, the biggest one for you is really your whole purpose, your life purpose is not only to become totally free of the dualistic system energetically, but to realize your true infinite impersonal nature, realize that's always been the case, and to be conscious within the dualistic realm, utilize it to maximum effect so you have the most amazing time in the dualistic realm to do with things like personal love, compassion, infinite possibilities. All of that content is great and that can all continue. Feelings of infinite possibilities, even in the realm of personal experience, and treating it as an adventure rather than something which is a kind of battle, and knowing that from moment to moment anything can happen, but in the most amazing way. And so you look at the invitations and you realize that they're an inversion. So, for instance, things like, um, well, if you take like the breakdown of a relationship, that's trying to put you into the deepest form of personalization, the deepest form of emotional and mental energetic compromise. But the reason for that is that what is true is the opposite of that, which is that you're actually becoming free of the energetic implications of the mental and emotional realm, that you're realizing your true infinite impersonal nature, you're withdrawing your investment from the personal realm. So the dualistic realm says, hang on, we've got somebody escaping here. So we're going to see if we can whip them back into line. But when you see the predictability of it, it becomes a lot of fun because you see the invitations as they're coming, and you see what they're trying to convince you of.
Yeah.
And inverting them is a lot of fun, really, because you can say, if you have something which is inviting you into grief, for instance, it's because your true potential is infinite bliss. So it's trying to distract you by personalized versions of grief and loss. Oh, I remember when we had this ice cream in this location and we were so happy. And, it's like fueling this little scene in the mind and, activating the mind and emotions around that. But it's really because um, you were probably just on the verge of experiencing, a really expansive spiritual experience of unity. So it's delivering something which is trying to prevent you from having that clarity.
Mhm. Gosh, I mean, it is quite an experience, the human,
The dualistic,
you know,
yeah, it
in a
is.
dualistic way. Yeah.
Well, but even that thought is actually an invitation because
Right.
what in the past few minutes that I can sense this joy which is emerging, and it's just arising in this sense of freedom and expansiveness. Um, so the dualistic system says, hang on, we're almost here. What are we going to do? Oh, so, well, I think probably the best thing is just to deliver a thought into the mind, which is saying, well, the human realm is really challenging, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that's
Hang on a
inviting,
sec, don't get ahead of yourself.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Um,
inviting you back into personalization, when really what you're experiencing the moment before that was infinite impersonal freedom and, one's true nature as a field of infinite possibilities.
I think it is interesting because you try and share some of this with other people, and and there is an element of you get back sort of a sense of, well, who do you think you are? Kind of, do you think you're some special person?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's the
Well, really, the only way it can happen is on the sort of frequency level. It's based on resonance. You can't have this sort of conversation with anyone because for a lot of people, well, for most people, the programming in the mental realm is so extreme that even though most people, well, everyone is actually utilizing the body of wisdom because all creativity is coming from there. So everyone is familiar with it in that way. But the mind is ring fenced for most people. So anything which is to do with possibilities beyond the dualistic realm, the, it's as though the software hasn't been installed for that to be experienced. So you can't even have a conversation. The only way conversations can arise is effortlessly because it's only our infinite nature which knows the solution, and that can only be guided from infinite intelligence. So I've been really lucky having conversations with so many people over the years, um, but it's because it's based on resonance. There's something which is something which where there is some resonance and some basis for that to have a conversation, but without that it would be totally futile. So you can't, early on I recognized even group meetings aren't that effective because people are at so many different levels of consciousness and you can't really address specifically what's going on, whereas in a one-to-one conversation you can address things very specifically.
yes. So, yes. So where would you say I'm at then?
Well, your the ability to function from effortless being is already fully available to you, and the distinction between effortless being and the mental realm, I would say, is also clear. But let's just do a little exercise to clarify that. You've probably seen this, but I'd just like to just be sure on it. So if we take, well, I can see the sun shining and reflecting on.
Yes, there's a little bit of sun left. Yeah.
Yeah. So we could take that as an example, or we could take, if there is there a constant sound at the moment?
No, not really.
Okay. Well, we'll take the example of the light then. Um, so just be effortlessly aware of the light, not necessarily the sun, but just the light coming through the window.
Mm.
So we could say there is effortless impersonal awareness of the light. There isn't anything that Sarah needs to do to make that light
Mm.
happen or arise. So the only place that anything can be known effortlessly and impersonally is in effortless being, which is the body of wisdom. So anything which is known effortlessly, impersonally in this moment, where there's no commentary or comparison going on, it's being known from effortless being. So there's effortless awareness of the computer screen, effortless awareness of the two voices, effortless awareness of the body sitting on the seat, effortless awareness of the light coming through the window and of the objects in the room. So there's already full clarity, and the ability to function as effortless being is already fully known. So that is impersonal, effortless awareness, which is actually one's true nature, because that's an infinite field of awareness within which everything is known. And you can also experience impersonally. So in this moment, there can be impersonal awareness of the sofa, impersonal awareness of a table or of the curtains or of the light. And also seeing the body mind as an object within that room. And it has certain operational capabilities, but actually it's just an object in the room along with all else, really. So it can be seen in that context.
Mm.
So that is it. That's seeing the body mind in an impersonal context.
You see, I think, or rather, I'd had notions of self-realization being a sort of ecstatic experience,
Hmm.
but it's more a neutrality, isn't it?
Neutrality is the foundation. So effortless being is the neutrality. So the neutrality of the experience is as you were just experiencing. So the noticing of the light, the noticing of the sounds, the noticing of the forms, they're all arising in neutrality, and there is no grading, there is no selection, there is no um, comparison. It's just a simple, effortless awareness of whatever those forms are arising, and they're arising as waves within this infinite ocean of awareness. The sun is arising within that infinite ocean. The trees are, the the objects in the room, everything is arising impersonally and effortlessly. And everything, it's peculiar to each moment. So in this moment, there are certain forms being known. And that's all being known from impersonal being. What actually develops is the ability to consciously direct one's attention towards things like love, compassion, unity, which takes you in the direction of bliss and ecstatic experience, which is the opposite direction to the conceptual realm. So, but the conceptual realm, so if we take the example of the light, so there is effortless awareness of the light, but then to actually move attention into the mental body, we can do that by describing or commenting something which is arising. So, describing the quality of the light, if you could do that.
It's yeah, it's quite soft, sort of it's bouncing off the walls. Yes, it's that feeling of, early evening light,
Mm,
dimming,
mm,
warm,
mm.
dimming, yes.
Great. So you see that distinction. You see that there is effortless awareness of the light, which is non-conceptual. It's just the direct knowing of the light or of the objects or of the thoughts or the sensations. That's non-conceptual awareness. And then there's the option for conceptual awareness, which is where the mind can be engaged. And it's engaged in things like, comparison or description or commentary.
So does, engaging the heart then, does that happen automatically as you sort of let go of the mental commentary? Is that a sort of a natural part
Yes.
of being in the body of wisdom and the body of bliss?
Yes. Well, each of the koshas, they're actually structured in different frequencies. So they relate to the colors of the rainbow. So the lowest one in each of them is red. That's like the danger zone. So they go from red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. So violet is the color of liberation, of realization. So we can consciously utilize those frequencies as when we begin to realize that we have sovereignty over the utilization of the koshas. So, for instance, if we take the mental realm, so in the mental realm, there could be certain concepts of limitation. So the most extreme concepts of limitation um, exist, on the lower levels. Um, and then the more expansive ones exist on the higher levels. And then with the emotions, have you seen the Hawkins chart?
No.
It might be worth having a look at it. David Hawkins, he did this chart. It's a simplification, really, because he just does it as a single chart. But he uses the colors, and he uses the emotions and the mental realms, but he puts them together as a sort of single construct. But they actually relate to the koshas are operating kind of independently. So, but seeing the sequence. So if you take the emotional body, so things like fear and depression are on the lower levels, and then the higher ones would be things like love and compassion. Um, so so really, you're absolutely right that disengaging the investment from the conceptual realm from the mental realm, um, and then also being selective in terms of the utilization of the emotional realm, you can begin to have experiences, that you wish to, rather than being subject to ones which you don't wish to have.
Mm. Right. That makes sense. Um, hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm quite conscious of, homeless people, people sitting on the street,
Mm,
and
mm,
um, a lot of them have got problems, obviously. Um, but I feel very conflicted about what, if someone approaches me, how to behave towards them, because
mm,
I feel compassionate, but I think,
mm,
oh no, I don't know what to do.
mm.
That's the
Well,
best thing to do.
mm,
Giving that person money may not be the best thing
no.
to do, or engage. I don't know, but that sort of thing in
Well,
terms of compassion
everything.
bothers me.
Yes, well, everything is part of the energetic system. There's actually a presentation on Gnosticism which I'd like to send you. Watch it from a space of neutrality, because it can deliver one or two invitations, because it actually dismantles all of the kind of beliefs in the structures that we've been educated to accept, like um, the governmental structures, like everything in the human realm is being administered by the dualistic intelligence. So that's all the religions, most forms of therapy, any form of therapy which is to do with personalization, any form of meditation or spirituality, which is to do with which is to do with personalization. The idea that the starting point is that you're this flawed individual with all these problems that you need to welcome and accept is all reinforcing the personal realm. But the starting point is impersonal, effortless, timeless being. You've remained in your true infinite nature all along. That's the only place you can be. In this moment, you are the infinite, timeless, omnipotent being. There's an Indian phrase, Aham Brahmasmi. It means I am the totality of existence. That's what you are. That's the truth. Anything less than that is a limitation that we've kind of consented to, mainly without even realizing we're consenting to it. But the example of the homeless people, the reason there are homeless people is because the dualistic realm likes to keep everyone on the hurry up. It wants everybody working really hard, because hard work, effort, strain, problematic experience is all the fuel of the dualistic realm. So it loves to make sure that there are homeless people, because that keeps everybody working really hard, because they're driving along in their nice car and they look on the side and there's somebody there who's homeless. And those people are saying, I don't want to be like that, I'm going to work really hard. That's the reason for homeless people. It isn't by accident, it's by design.
So if someone approaches me, I don't know I don't know what.
Well, use your intuition because it's different in all circumstances, but um, the you know you can feel the energy of the person. That's probably the most effective thing because some homeless people, they have there can be things like drug problems or
Yeah,
emotional problems and things, so you wouldn't want to be inviting any adverse experience. So if there's any possibility of that, you just keep walking.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so so something like that could be an invitation into making you feel guilty or anxious or
It's all reinforcing duality, really, yeah, because that's it's the idea that there's a kind of hierarchy. Any kind of hierarchy is always the dualistic realm. So if it's a religious or spiritual hierarchy, if it's to do with the social order, if you take India, for instance, um, the culture in India had the highest potential in terms of liberation and self-realization. So the Indian culture has been targeted most intensely to actually try to obscure that through things like hierarchy. So the caste system is something which was designed to keep people absorbed in this sense of, I'm more important than you are, which actually conceals the opportunity for self-realization, which can only happen on the level of equality. You can only, it's a bit like the analogy of, going through the eye of a needle to get to heaven. You can only go through the eye of the needle as the infinite impersonal being, because if you're carrying any baggage of personalization, you won't get through the eye of the needle. But it's realizing that you are the infinite impersonal being already. So there is actually no necessity to get through the eye of the needle because
well, that's really
you're on the right side of the needle already. It's only the idea. Like if
yeah,
we're accepting concepts of limitation, that's really an example of the religious inversion. The
yeah.
idea that you have to get through the eye of a needle.
And you have to be saintly and
Yeah,
yeah, you have to be a certain type of person
yeah. I
to
mean, much of it is to do with self-acceptance, and it's liberation from the sort of self-judgment and guilt, because they're components which are operational in the dualistic realm.
mm, mm. God, it's quite revolutionary what you're saying, in even in, in spiritual terms. This is, this is,
It
this,
is totally different because
it is.
most spiritual teachings are actually reinforcing the dualistic realm.
Yes, yeah,
Most non-duality teachers, they think this is God's world, so they're talking about it as though, oh yes, well, if we, we well, Tony Parsons. I remember watching a clip of one of Tony's. I mean, I love Tony; he's a real entertainer. But somebody said, "Well, what's depression?" And he said, "Oh, that's the beloved appearing as depression." Well, that's no solution in my book, really. Calling depression the beloved doesn't really solve anything.
no, no. I think it's really interesting you saying, sort of seeing it as a game that you're playing, that
Yeah.
you,
Well,
uh,
it is ultimately, it's cosmic entertainment. You're the infinite timeless being with infinity on your hands. And you think, well, what can I do for a bit of it?
yes,
What I'll do is well, actually, there is an aspect, the bigger picture in terms of, one's own experience is that you you in your infinite nature remain as the infinite timeless being. That's all you can ever be. But there's a game which is taking place at the moment, which is the dualistic realm, which is a kind of anomaly or an overgrowth, as Ramana Maharshi describes it. And it's not in alignment with God or the infinite being. It's not in the realm of unity. but it's actually being reintegrated back into unity. So the way it's described in Hinduism, it says that at the end of Kali Yuga, it can only actually return immediately to Satyuga. So it returns back to the golden age from the end of Kali Yuga.
Has it been in Kali Yuga before? Does this go in cycles, or is this the first?
Well, personally, I believe that's part of the construct, really. I don't think there are cycles. I think that it's just that we're having this particular experience at the moment. It's more like a movie. And the idea that there are cycles are within the script of the movie. I don't think there are cycles. My feeling is that um, the theme of the movie is the reintegration of the dualistic realm back into unity consciousness. So we're the infinite timeless being. That's all we can ever be. But we can pretend that we are these limited beings in time and space. So what we consent to going into a realm where everything is telling you that you are this limited being in time and space. It's a problematic experience. It's inescapable. Life's a bitch, and then you die. But actually, it's because you're the infinite timeless being and you just want a bit of entertainment, really. But the entertainment you've subscribed to is that you're actually a volunteer within the dualistic realm. So your true life purpose is to wake up to realize that you are the infinite timeless being, but also to discover that you're free of the energetic implications of the dualistic realm. You can handle the dualistic realm in a conscious way where you're the sovereign being, so you decide what you invest in. All of the energy which can be invested in the dualistic realm, that's all in your energy account. So where that goes is determined by you. It's like having a big bank account. You decide where you invest that wealth. It's just that you've been subject to the dualistic Ponzi scheme, which is trying to say that the dualistic realm is a great place to invest your energy, when really it's a Ponzi scheme. It's
Yeah.
designed to steal all your funds.
Mm.
But
Oh,
your purpose is actually on an individual level. Your purpose is to be in alignment with your infinite nature. And what's happening really is that this is within the movie, one could say, or the game, which is that there's an opportunity at the moment where many beings have incarnated in this realm or are having this experience, because we never really incarnate, we remain in our infinite nature, really. But we we're having this experience where we can, within the game, we can be a representative of the infinite being. So when you disconnect your energy and stop investing in the dualistic realm and function from effortless being, then you're like a lighthouse of unity within this sea of duality. And there are more and more beings who are actually becoming energetically free of the dualistic realm, remembering their status as the infinite being, realizing they have sovereignty over this realm. And the more beings that are doing that, they're withdrawing their investment from the dualistic realm, and eventually the dualistic realm, and actually quite quickly, I feel, the dualistic realm can be reintegrated back into unity. So the anomaly is over then. So that third aspect of the mental functioning comes to an end. So all the invitations into pain and suffering are all over. And then it just returns to a magical experience again. And that's your little job.
oh wow. Gosh. Oh, David. So good. Thank you. Oh,
It is quite a big game, though.
it is. It is. It is. But it's seeing that it's a game.
Yeah.
And but I think I was hoping for some sort of, like, thunderbolt moment where I just felt different. I felt that it's gone. but I don't know, maybe it just does, it just lifts away from you, and
Well, for you, it's really that the Kundalini experience was actually the demonstration of the ability to be free of the dualistic realm. It's just that when that came along for you, like with Eckhart's experience, that was quite unusual in one way, because when he had the freedom from the dualistic realm, it didn't reinstall again. Whereas for most people, it does reinstall.
Mm.
But the way you can actually put an end to that installation is understanding, firstly, that you are the infinite, impersonal, timeless being already. So the simplicity of what you describe, which is it's the neutrality of seeing the forms appearing equally and effortlessly, that's the foundation. So, so beginning with that and then allowing um, the guidance to come from one's infinite nature will take you in a much more magical and expansive direction. And but that happens effortlessly. You can't plan for that. You can't, that isn't something. It's because it's the whole kind of magical aspect of the entertainment which is being delivered from one's infinite nature. And then the other part where you can bring consciousness in is in cancelling the investment to the Ponzi scheme of the dualistic realm, which is understanding the way the mind is both a transmitter and a receiver. It's like all the content coming from the demiurge or the dualistic realm. It's like having a soap opera being beamed into your head. It's like having Coronation Street or EastEnders being beamed into your head.
Oh, yeah,
But liberation is really learning how just to turn that off.
yes,
And
yeah,
the way to turn it off is actually to remain as impersonal being, because we turn it on when we step into the personal realm.
yes,
Or, but actually, then when consciousness comes in, we can have the fun of the dualistic realm, because the only problematic aspect of the dualistic realm is in the investment in the emotions and concepts of limitation, which give rise to suffering.
yes. And so for you, meditation isn't that necessary.
No, I don't. What you'll find is the daily structure kind of changes. So the way most human beings live is, they have, I don't know, 8 hours sleep a night or whatever it is, and then they're working for 8 hours maybe, and then have 8 hours of leisure. And it's in that kind of cycle. The work time, there's probably a lot of effort and suffering involved in that. The way it reconfigures is there's more, the more you kind of just notice, and over the next few days and weeks, just spending a bit of time noticing forms arising equally and effortlessly from neutrality. And then noticing you'll be getting content coming more from your infinite nature as well. So there can be things like synchronicity, inspiration, different opportunities presented to you. And so the way it gets reconfigured is there's more time spent in each day in alignment with effortless being. And intuitively, you've already sensed this, which is why, excuse me, which is why you're spending more time alone, because when you're alone, you're actually resting as the effortless being. If you're socializing or spending time with people, then you're in character, then you're in the role.
Mm.
But what tends to happen, so my daily, the way my days are structured, I would say there's probably 60 to 70% resting as effortless being. There's probably, this is on when I'm, kind of active, um, probably 20 to 30% in the body of bliss, which is mainly, it can be during meditation, it can be at restful times or during the night. And then
So
probably,
how does it feel to be in the body of bliss?
well, the body of bliss is it's actually an infinite field of bliss. So the way it's experienced is, um, if you take the the Kundalini experiences you had, so the mind stops, there's silence, which is being experienced, and neutrality. And then it tends to be that there are thoughts or experiences coming in, which are giving rise to feelings of expansiveness. So they could be feelings which are to do with love, unity, compassion, heightened experiences. So they're taking you in the direction of bliss. But then bliss is a self-contained field which has no content other than bliss. But it's something that the more we disconnect our energy from the conceptual realm, from the dualistic realm, the more option there is to actually experience as bliss. And then it becomes a sort of conscious option.
Is
And
bliss a sort of, is it that sort of underlying hum
well,
somehow?
it has,
When you go quiet, it's a sort of, it's a sort of warm hum
yeah,
that
that's
you,
well, that's in the direction of it. But
yes.
um, probably the closest, um, the way we can access bliss spontaneously is with a joke. So so if I told you a joke, I won't tell you any because I only know rude ones. But if I say I told you a joke,
Yeah.
we kind of, with a joke, we're kind of being set up in the conceptual realm. So the content of the joke initially sounds really plausible. So you're listening to it and the mind's listening and sort of trying to make sense of it. When the punchline is delivered, it collapses the conceptual realm
Mm.
and it throws us directly into the body of bliss, because the mental realm is trying to make sense of the content, and the mental realm has no capacity for bliss at all, really. So it can only be comparing, oh well, this sounds sensible, I've heard somebody saying this before. And then we're being set up though for the punchline, and then the punchline collapses the sort of the conceptual reality, and we're thrown into bliss, which is always there, but it tends not to be sustainable because the conceptual mind comes back in again. But the more we favor things like, you know, humor, love, um, spontaneity, lack of judgment, a really childlike approach to life, the more options there are for experiencing bliss. And you can see, like with young children, I'm sure with your children, you know, when you see them playing and they can be entertained by the most simple things, but they
I'm
just,
laughing because my children are 30, 20, 28, and
wow, that's
26
amazing.
and 23.
That's amazing.
They don't, they don't play much anymore. Oh.
That's incredible. Well, I think you're an example of functioning from effortless being, because the time hasn't impacted on you. You haven't really subscribed to the aging process or the concept, because it is, you know, it is partly to do with, you know, investing in it.
Well, you look very young, actually, David.
Well, I'm in my 70th year now, so
No way.
mm,
Well, I would have said you were in your 50s, so
um, well, yes, I'm 70 next birthday. I was 69.
wow. I'm amazed, yes.
But you know, that's, I think with you know, when we're in the mental, emotional, and physical realms, then we're investing, and there's heavy expenditure really. So people, you know, if they're, you know, like if there's like alcohol use or like really hard work or emotional turmoil, they all take their toll really.
Mm. Yeah.
But Yeah, just being selective really. But for you, it's knowing there is actually already realization. It's just that you had that very dramatic Kundalini experience, which was very contrasting because there was a total withdrawal of investment from the dualistic realm at that time. But then it kind of reinstalled gradually.
Yeah.
But now, I've tried to explain during our conversation how, that investment is something which it's designed for us to invest in. Everything in the human realm is designed, for us to invest in it. But because you're the infinite being, the reason we've set it up to be a bit challenging is because when you're the infinite, omnipotent, timeless being, you need a bit of a challenge because it's
Yes.
no fun if it's a walkover.
Yes. Well, there must be learning or evolution that happens as a result of it, mustn't
Yeah.
there? I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think what we're learning is we're learning more ingenious ways to entertain ourselves in eternity.
Yes. Yes, that's well, I suppose there are other realms once we've left this one, I
Mm,
guess.
mm, definitely.
So,
Well, the the body of wisdom is the causal realm. So that's where all the potential is really in terms of um, creativity and manifestation. The reincarnation takes place between the physical, etheric, and astral realms. So that's why the mental, emotional, and physical, they they're part of the same sort of energetic construct. That's the dualistic realm. So there's like a dividing line between the mental body and the body of wisdom. And on the one side, it's effortless. So effortless being the body of wisdom, and infinite bliss, the body of bliss, are infinite unified fields, and they're effortless. Whereas the dualistic realm, the mental, emotional, and physical, are part of the same construct. So where there's a deep investment in personalization, it's the idea, and this is what the religions that are supported by the dualistic realm maintain. It's the idea that you are this person,
mm.
you are a physical being, then the physical body dies, and then you realize, oh, actually, well, I'm still existing as an etheric body. And then you can venture into the astral realm and experience the astral heavens, and um, but then you have a chat with your spirit guide in the astral realm who's actually in service to the dualistic realm, and he says, well, you'll be better just to pop back for a while. You did quite well, but you need a bit more, a bit more learning and a bit more refinement. But it's all because the dualistic realm wants us back as a battery to fuel the dualistic realm, and that's how the reincarnation cycle continues.
And so can you really opt out? You have a choice to opt out. You don't have to keep coming back.
Well, the solution is to know that we never really opted in because we've remained as the infinite being. It's just that the dualistic realm is like a computer game that we've been playing a bit too long, and we've forgotten that actually we're operating that game. We can turn it on, we can turn it off, we can play it. But what we never become is the character or the avatar that is existing in that dualistic realm.
Well, a lot of the sort of um, knowledge is or information is that each lifetime you perfect yourself
Mm.
more.
Yeah, that's the demiurgic concept.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that now. But
Because
I
really
would
it's
have
all
bought into
entertainment.
I
It's
would
all,
have bought into that idea. Yeah,
yeah.
so well, I'm doing well in this lifetime,
Mm.
maybe I'll be liberated in this lifetime.
It's
Um,
it's a bit paradoxical because there can be the more clarity there is in terms of one's infinite nature, the more potential there is in the dualistic realm. So there can be experiences of expansion. Um, all the experiences in the dualistic realm, they can become very heightened. So there can be um, infinite impersonal love, infinite compassion, infinite power, infinite potential, infinite clarity. So there can be a refinement, but that's part of the potential of the entertainment aspect rather than something which is progressive in terms of needing to refine or perfect or evolve. Because we're not actually going anywhere, because we're already home. We're already the infinite timeless being. It's just that we have infinite potential to play any game that we can. It's just that we've set up a particularly limited construct, just for a bit of entertainment for a while, just to see, how we, how we can experience it.
Oh my goodness. Oh, it's so amazing. And yeah, it's got to sink in a bit, I think.
Well,
Um,
it's lovely to see just the way you were describing it then. There was this real radiance which was just coming through, which is your infinite nature. And that's really, it's that feeling, it's the realignment with your infinite nature which is happening. And that's really the next stage of the game for you, because the limitations of the dualistic realm have tried to keep you down in terms of your potential, and your potential for alignment with your infinite nature. But as you become free of that, and because it's been a bit of an instruction manual really, this session,
mm,
and I sense that you'll be really capable. And but it's seeing that your true potential is available, and that feeling that you just had then, is coming from your infinite nature. That's an example of the way the energy is being withdrawn from the dualistic realm, and it's becoming available in terms of your infinite potential.
oh, well, how fantastic. Thank you.
Great. Great.
Oh, David, it's been really, really good. I mean, might want to speak to you again, I'm sure. But I'm going to let this kind of really sink into my being. And yeah, I feel really excited now.
Fantastic. That's great.
Yeah, I feel really thrilled to bits actually. And yeah, and I'll be able to sort of spot the bear traps,
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Well, it's good that it is good that your intuition and your email to Amelia about having it recorded was good, because I do, as well as much as possible, I do record the conversations. And sometimes people are on a phone or an iPad where they can't record it, but I tend to record it and just send it to them, because um, there is quite a lot of content which can be useful and just be a
yeah,
reminder.
yeah, that's right, that's right. I mean, you've said so much, but yeah, it's great. Yeah, I feel I want to sort of get out there with using a different operating system, really,
Yeah, definitely.
or more consciously, going in
Yes.
that direction that I've been heading in.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's great. So
And
thank
knowing
you.
whatever you need will come to you effortlessly, really. Anything of value, because it's functioning from effortless being is the opposite to the way we've been conditioned. So you don't need to make a plan, you don't need to devise anything. It's just allowing things to come to you, and it's the things which show up effortlessly. It's a bit like this conversation, which you had no idea what it was going to be about, really.
No, no,
Neither did I.
no, no.
But it's just that's the way it emerges. It just emerges effortlessly, and then the next stage is revealed to you.
Mm.
Um,
But
but
it's interesting, isn't it, how you go from, different teachers, you're attracted to people, and
mm,
it's interesting that I found my way to you
mm,
at this point. I
mm.
think this feels like a very pivotal moment for me.
Well, it is potentially, there is a huge amount of freedom available, because you realize that the dualistic realm is something which we've been entertaining without realizing the implications of that realm.
Yeah.
But then not understanding that we can reclaim our sovereignty and function in the dualistic realm in a conscious way, and decide the degree to which we invest in it is hugely liberating experientially, because lots of spiritual teachings and forms of non-duality are saying, oh, there's nothing you can do, that
No,
it's just all just happening, and
don't
so
wait for grace to, yeah,
it hits you. Yeah,
hit you. Yeah. Oh, well, that's really good. That's really positive because yeah, then I feel much more
more
uh
empowered.
in charge. Yes, it's
Exactly.
reclaim my sovereignty, as you
Yeah.
sort of said, yeah, which
Yes.
feels much better. Yeah. I like that. Yes. I don't like waiting around for things, much rather
No.
take charge.
Well, that's really that's the inspiration to not wait around and not accept those concepts of limitation is coming from your infinite nature, and it shows the degree of alignment, because that is coming from freedom.
Mm,
If it wasn't so strong, you could be accepting something, oh well, this is how it is, depression is the beloved appearing as depression.
mm, mm.
But
No,
people like you and
no,
I wouldn't accept that, would
you
we?
have a choice. You have a choice, and you can say no. Just say no. Yeah, brilliant. Oh, David, thank you so much. This has been really, really helpful, and
Great. Well, you'll have a lot of fun with it, but
I will.
energetically, you'll feel all the energy coming through and becoming available, and just have the maximum fun being
Yeah.
Sarah too. Because it,
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, okay, David. Well, look, thank you so much because you've taken so much time with me, and I really appreciate that. And yeah, for really, explaining and clarifying. It's just been so helpful, and
great.
I'm really grateful. Thank you very much.
And let me know how it goes, because
I will. And please do send me that, what you were going to.
yeah, I'll send you the link to the presentation on Gnosticism. It's
Yeah.
quite a dramatic version. It was made in 22 by an English guy called Martin Colburn. But information on Gnosticism is really rare,
Mm,
because the dualistic realm doesn't want us to know about it.
mm,
But it can give one or two invitations, because we've all had religious and social conditioning which is in denial of the way the dualistic realm is. So there can be one or two little triggers, but just watch it from neutrality, and you ultimately you use your own discernment, because um, it's a kind of Gnosticism is a kind of mythological version. You could equally watch the film The Matrix,
mm. Yeah, I saw that actually quite recently. Yeah.
because The Matrix is really the dualistic realm.
Mm, mm,
And then people like Eckhart Tolle, his concept of the pain body is actually describing the demiurgic dualistic energy system.
mm, mm. Yeah, yeah. And you don't have to engage with it.
No, as Eckhart says, it's through identification that we kind of consent. Identification is a form of consent, so we kind of consent to the idea that the depression is ours, or the
Yeah, and this
anger is
is just the
ours, or
way it is. And yeah,
yeah. When
yeah.
really it's only if we remain as infinite, impersonal, timeless being, then you can't accept any invitations as the impersonal being. You can only accept them, by consenting to that sense of individuality,
Mm. Oh,
which
brilliant.
you never become.
Yes. Yeah. And David, where has this knowledge just come to you?
Yeah, it came in a kind of sequence. So um, I think for each of us, what you find is that this is what I've noticed, from having lots of conversations. um, the sequence of knowledge and everything and our life experience, it has been kind of setting us up um, for our particular version of things. And so, there was the, meditating for 20 years, and then there was realization in 2005. And like you, I thought realization would be an end to suffering. But I noticed that even though there's the direct and complete knowing that we are the infinite being within which all forms appear, we are the totality of existence, that was seen. But actually the invitations continued. So I knew that there was this operating system which was independent. And because I'd read Eckhart Tolle's book in 2005, that kind of raised a question, because I'd used his techniques of disidentifying, with the mind and the mental content, and successfully disconnected the energetic investment from things like anxiety or depression or anything. Um, but that was the challenge in a way, to sort of understand the distinction between self-realization and that secondary aspect of the invitations into mental and emotional suffering. So early on, it became apparent that effortless being was the way forward, because I tried one or two things with the mind which didn't work. And then there was this sort of sequence where things just happened effortlessly and things came to me, like the conscious TV interviews and then meeting Rhonda Byrne. And so seeing that everything of value comes from effortless being. And then simultaneously, um, knowledge came from different angles and kind of cognitions came. A lot of it is to do with speaking with people, because you see how they're sort of functioning and how they're consenting to and supporting their own suffering, really. So the understanding of the way the energy system um, came about, just happened effortlessly. And then the the Gnostic version came along. I became aware of that a little, well, probably 15 years ago, I would say. And then there's more clarity that's come in there, but it's not seeking or researching anything. It's just seeing what comes from nowhere, what comes effortlessly. And it's just come together in this particular sequence, which has resulted in, an approach which is totally different to anyone else.
Well, it
There.
is, and it is, and so it's no accident that I found you.
No, exactly. It's
No.
it's the guidance of one's infinite nature, the self revealing itself to itself.
Yeah, yeah, because I think I tried other things, and
Mm,
yeah, and I wanted a direct approach, really.
mm,
Yes, yeah, and I like the way you say things. You don't wrap things up. You don't talk about the ego very much, and you don't sort of wrap things up in a
mm,
kind of religious way. Because in some ways, although I like talk of the sacred and that sort of
mm,
thing, um, it it reinforces this sense that you could not be worthy,
mm. Yeah.
whereas, you're reinforcing what
It's the,
I really am.
the the sacred is the starting point, really. You
What
know,
do you mean by that?
well, one's infinite impersonal nature is that is the totality. That's what's ultimately sacred and pristine, and that's really the starting point. That's really attributeless being.
Yes.
And then the koshas emerge from there. So, um, we have the option to move through them from subtle to gross, and the most gross is the physical. But most religions at the moment, because it's a sort of upside down world, it's making the idea, well, it's the idea that the physical is predominating, and then there are supplementary things like the mind and the emotions, and then we have all of this content to resolve. But that's the upside down world.
Mm. I see that now. Um, well, it's been very empowering. That's the word for it, talking to you. And
Fantastic. But
yeah,
it's your own potential, really, which has led you to this possibility, because you can see that there is the potential to just cancel the investment in the dualistic realm. And, it's a very practical option to be able to do that, because it is only consenting and identifying with those invitations when you don't
Yes.
need to. And
Yeah.
they're only invitations. It's like somebody inviting you to a party you don't wish to attend.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just politely decline.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, David, fantastic. Thank you so much.
Well, I'll be really interested to see where it takes you, because you have
Yeah,
a huge amount of potential, and
thank you, David.
it'll be great to see where that goes.
Oh, I feel it. I feel really excited and delighted having spoken to you. Yeah, you've really helped me so much. Thank you very much.